Have you guys seen what's going on between these two? This is Ibrahim Traoré. He is the most selfless leader in Africa. And this is General Michael Langley. He is the first black 4-star general in the Marines. And this general, he had a lot to say. He name dropped Ibrahim Traoré in a meeting. Look.
Absolutely, Chairman. I see this and I don't mind calling them out, but Captain Traoré and Burkina Faso, as they, whether it's their gold reserves, that is all those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the junta regime.
What do you guys think about all this? Obviously, Ibrahim Traoré, he put his people in Burkina Faso first, and now he's become the most popular leader in Africa. And the general, he called out Ibrahim Traoré, so there must be a motive behind this.
This is a cotton-picking fucking lie. This is a fucking lie. And they using a fucking Sambo, General Langley, that's the commander of AFRICOM, to do this shit. This is the same play they used when it came to Gaddafi. They used Obama, to get rid of Gaddafi. This is the same play. Now all these lies is coming out about Ibrahim Traoré. One thing Ibrahim Traoré did was liberate his people, kick the fucking out of this fucking country, and liberate his people and making this country independent outside of the fucking West. Come on, man, we ain't finna go for this.
He is the most popular leader in Africa right now, one of the youngest leaders in Africa right now. He has been the president since 2022. I'm going to name you some of the accomplishments he's done. He created their first ever gold mine, state gold mine, and he immediately stopped the exporting raw gold to Europe.
Okay.
He kicked out the French military. He kicked out the French media. He bought Burkina Faso's first 2 planes of their airline. So before they used to have to lease planes, he bought first 2 planes and trying to stop the stranglehold Air France had on Burkina Faso. He banned the British wigs and attire in judicial hearings. He just made education free. He also was part of a coalition between neighboring Mali and Niger. So they have a coalition going on.
Sounds like a good guy. It sounds like he's figuring some shit out.
This guy is the most beloved African president. Everybody likes him. Everybody from Burkina Faso likes him. And now they want to arrest him and possibly invade Burkina Faso.
Let me just start by saying this situation is outrageous but not surprising. A US general saying that President Ibrahim Traoré is a threat to Burkinabes and calling for his arrest, that is their narrative now. It's almost like history is repeating itself right before our eyes. And the playbook hasn't changed at all. Whenever an African leader stands up for his people, refuses to bow down to Western pressure, and tries to chart an independent cause and using his country's own resources, suddenly he becomes a threat. Not a hero, not a visionary, a threat. But let's talk facts. Let's talk about what Ibrahim Traoré is actually doing in Burkina Faso. This is a man who walked away from being comfortable in the military to stand with his people. He's not just another politician sitting in air-conditioned offices while his citizens starve. He's on the front lines fighting for the sovereignty of his country, kicking out French troops and foreign companies that were exploiting Burkina Faso's gold and other minerals while leaving the people in poverty. He's not stealing the country's resources, he's nationalizing them. He's making sure they benefit the people of Burkina Faso, and the West doesn't like that. Because let's be honest, the minute an African country decides to stop being a pawn and start being a player, the alarms go off in Washington, Paris. So the US says Traoré is a threat, but a threat to who?
Allah. Why them can't just leave we alone? The same president, when me tell you in the last video, say 18 times them try to analyze this man. It reached to 19 times. Me say it dark outside. The cock not even rise for crow yet. And 19 times, Mary Macca and all France try to analyze this man because this man is building a canal, people. In our country. Right now, as we speak, the president of Burkina Faso is building a canal to increase the water efficiency in our country, so places where not have no water can get water. The man make education free from the liquor schoolers them all the way up to tertiary people. The man has given his farmers them the best equipment them can find, so that way them can increase the proficiency of quality of food in a them country, people. They see a man will pay off the country debt to Burkina Faso, no what the IMF already. Well, see the man here where them want to use for say them and go save Burkina Faso. Jaja, why we can't just live God?
Some of you African youths are so senseless. You are so heartless and so gullible. This video is most especially for those of you in Europe who took to the streets in protest asking Ibrahim Traoré to step down. How can you allow yourselves to be so easily deceived? How can you allow the enemy to manipulate you into doing something like that, even after seeing clear evidence of the positive changes he is making in the lives of his people? How can you allow yourselves to be used by our colonizers? We did not learn anything from what happened to Gaddafi. We have not learned any lesson from what happened to all the good leaders that has ever emerged in this continent. Let me even ask you, when that ancestor was in Burkina Faso, who knew about Burkina Faso? You never went to France to protest against him. Ibrahim Traoré has come. Now the world knows Burkina Faso. The world is talking about Burkina Faso. He has brought visibility, pride, and hope to his people. And yet, you dare go out there on a foreign land and protest and ask him to step down. What did they give you in exchange for that protest? They promised you a visa. They promised you a permanent resident. Well, for your information, even if you have a visa, a permanent resident, or even their passport, they will never treat you as one of them because you are a stranger on that land. Let me even tell you, when you sell your own brother, even your buyer will not trust you. All of you who went out there to protest should watch your back, because the same person that sent you to betray your own brother or turn your back against your brother will be the ones to hurt you. But for your information, the number of African youths that are ready to defend this man are more than those of you who went out to the streets to go and protest. When are we going to decolonize our minds? When are we going to learn to be our brother's keeper? The thunder that will fire all of you that went out in France to protest against Ibrahim Traoré is still doing push-up. You guys have not seen anything yet, but know that you will never win. You will never win this time.
So the US says Traoré is a threat, but a threat to who exactly? He's a threat to imperialism, he's a threat to exploitation, he's a threat to the idea that Africa is just a place to take from, not build with. But Burkinabes, he's not a threat. His hope, he's what leadership is supposed to look like. He's the kind of president most African countries wish they had. Humble, strong, fearless, and committed. And I love how Africans around the world are not staying silent. Black Americans too have come out strong in defense of Traoré because they see what's happening. They understand the script. They've read it before. When America demonized Patrick Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, Muammar Gaddafi, and many others, all these leaders who dared to uplift their people and build a strong Africa ended up being removed, assassinated, or sanctioned. And it always starts the same way. Smear campaigns, fake reports, media propaganda, and then military intervention. That's the pattern. But guess what? It's not 1960 anymore. Africans are awake. Black people across the diaspora are awake. We know who the real threat is, and it's not Traoré. It's the people who've kept Africa down for centuries through exploitation, manipulation, and misinformation.
All Muslims pray for Ibrahim Traoré. This man is a Muslim leader who is looking to change the future of Africa, and so far he's already had over 20 attempts to him. Now these same people are behind this, and we all know who they are. Now these same people are behind this because they haven't succeeded with trying to him. They are now paying people and attempting to overthrow him within his own country. This is a guy who's making major changes in Africa right now, and he seems to not be scared of anything but obviously Allah. It also seems that all of the media right now, they're trying to portray him as a bad person and putting out things about him that are just not true. Remember guys, in this dunya, when you're trying to do the right thing, when you're trying to actually make a change, this is what you're going to go through. The shaitan is going to come for you at all forces. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala strengthen our brother and grant him the best in this life and in the life after this. And if something happens to him, then we all know why.
You see this man here? He needs super armed security. In fact, the entire world needs to do a chained prayer for this man. Just within 2 years, do you know what Ibrahim Traoré has actually done? First of all, he just made education free for everybody in Burkina Faso, which is crazy. He also launched an emergency ambulance service, and I've never heard of this in any African country. The service aims to provide 24-hour emergency healthcare to all citizens regardless of financial status. And under his leadership, like I said, this is just within 2 years. Burkina Faso's GDP, which is the gross domestic product, which is used to measure how well a country is doing economically, grew from approximately 18.8 billion to 22.1 billion. He also reduced the salaries of ministers and parliamentarians by 30% and increased the salaries of civil servants by 50%. He paid off Burkina Faso's local debts. He established 2 tomato processing plants. He put a stop to the export of unrefined gold from Burkina Faso to Europe. And to my understanding, he's actually trying to build a gold refinery in Burkina Faso. He banned French military operations in Burkina Faso. He banned French media in Burkina Faso, and he expelled French troops from Burkina Faso. Now, why the French are angry about this is because usually Francophone countries depend on France to some capacity. And if other countries, Francophone countries within Africa, start getting self-sufficiency, then we'll need France, leaving France's role redundant. And ultimately, France will become a third world country. Without Africa, France is a third world country. Remember that.
Let's dig deeper into why Ibrahim Traoré is such a problem for Western powers. First, he's young. At just 36 years old, he represents a new wave of Africa leadership that's not tied to old colonial mentalities. He doesn't owe his position to France, to the US, or any Western puppet master. He took power with the support of his people and the military, and he's using it to bring real change. That scares them. Because if Traoré succeeds in Burkina Faso, what's stopping other African countries from following his example? Second, he's unapologetic. Traoré doesn't sugarcoat things. He doesn't try to please the West with polite diplomacy while being undermined. He calls it as it is. He has said openly that foreign troops were not helping but worsening the security situation in Burkina Faso. And then he backed it up with action by kicking them out. He has restructured how resources are handled. No more letting foreign mining companies take 90% of the profits while the country remains poor. That is the real reason why they want him gone. The people love him, and not just in Burkina Faso, across Africa. People are inspired by his leadership. That is why you're seeing massive support for him online, in protest, in community events, in forums. Africans are tired of puppets, tired of leaders who sell out. Traoré is not one of them, and the West knows that a popular, independent African leader is the last thing they want, because popularity means influence, and influence means power. So what do? They call him a threat. They want to arrest him. For what? For defending his country, for refusing to bow down, for refusing to give up his people's wealth. If that makes him a criminal, then the whole world is upside down. It's also important to point out the hypocrisy here. The US has supported and worked with dictators around the world who have committed actual atrocities. Leaders who have jailed opponents, stolen elections, unalived civilians, and yet they remain allies. They get military aid, they get economic deals, but when a leader like Traoré, who hasn't committed any known crimes, who is popular with his people, who is working to improve his country from the ground up, suddenly he's a criminal. The people defending him are not blind, they're informed. They see what's happening. Black Americans are drawing the connection between what the West does abroad and what it does at home. They understand that the same system that oppress Black people in America are the same ones that destabilize Africa. It's all connected. It's all about control, about keeping Black people disempowered, whether in Atlanta or Ouagadougou. And for those Africans still sitting on the fence, it's time to choose a side. You can't be neutral when your own brother is being targeted for doing what every African leader should be doing, standing up for the people. Traoré is not perfect, but he's doing more for his country than many have done in decades. He deserves support, not condemnation. What worries me the most is how silent some African leaders are. Where are the statements of support? Where is the African Union? Why aren't they condemning this call for arrest? Is it fear? Is it because they're benefiting from the current system? Or is it because they know that if Traore's model spreads, their own people will demand better leadership too? Africa needs to stand with Traore, not just in words, but in action, because this is bigger than one man. This is about the future of African independence. This is about breaking free from the neo-colonial chain. If Traore falls, they will use him as an example to scare off other bold leaders. But if he stands, he becomes a symbol of what's possible, a free, strong, and self-reliant Africa. So let me be clear, the real threat isn't Ibrahim Traore. The real threat is the idea that Africa can rise, that Africa can take control of its resources, that Africa can say no to being exploited. That is what they fear, and that is why we must protect and uplift leaders like Traore. We need more Black voices speaking out, more media platforms sharing the truth, more diaspora Africans connecting the dots and joining the movement, because the lies won't stop. The propaganda will only increase. But if we stay loud, stay informed, and stay united, we can change the narrative. To the US general who called for Traore's arrest, do better. You don't care about Burkinabes. You care about power. You care about access. You care about keeping things the way they've always been, unfair and one-sided. But Africa is changing and there's no going back. To the people of Burkina Faso, stay strong. You have a leader who believes in you, who is sacrificing for you. Don't let them take that away. History will remember this moment, and you want to be on the right side of that history. And to Ibrahim Traore, keep pushing. The road is tough, the enemies are powerful, but the love of your people is stronger. You've already made history. Now finish what you started. Africa is watching and we are with you. Anyway guys, drop a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are, and also remember to subscribe, like and share as well. And until next time, bye bye.